Welcome to Emblem Interviews, where I dive deep with everyday people to uncover the extraordinary within their lives, minds, and souls. Along the way, we'll often pull up their birth charts to explore what's truly happening beneath the surface. Together, we'll uncover the stories created here on Earth and examine their cosmic reflection written in the stars. Hi, welcome to Emblem Interviews. My name is Cassandra Shorn, and today I'll be interviewing one of my oldest dear friends, Megan Sandiforth. She's all the way over in my hometown of, well, near my hometown, Grass Valley, Nevada City area, and I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
How are you?
I'm
So you're tired,
good.
you said. What's going on? Why didn't you sleep?
I don't know. It was a myriad of things working against sleep, but my daughter's sick, so she was coughing, and you know how that is when your kiddo is sick and you're just hyper aware.
Yeah, and you're just up worrying, and
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously a lot going on in the sky right now. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that later. Lots of things. And in the world, of course. And then once you stay up too late, you start getting anxiety and yeah.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing. It's
Mm.
my own brain. I am going to cranial today too, so
Oh yeah, that's right. After this. That's awesome.
mm-hmm.
So let's kind of start. Actually, so I remember you telling me, like at the very, very beginning. So I remember you telling me that your, like even your being born was unlikely.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you tell the story because I like don't want to get details wrong.
Yeah, so my mom had, I guess, like really terrible periods. So
Mm.
she had let's see, she only had, I think, one ovary. She had her tubes tied and she was on birth control. And she was just taking birth control because she had like such horrible cramps and it was like it would help to regulate that for her. And still I was born, or I was conceived, and the doctor actually was so like, this is kind of, ridiculous, and since I tied your tubes for you, if you'd like, you know I can take care of this pregnancy for you at like no cost or anything. And my mom's like, no, this kid worked really hard to get here, so she can stick around. So
Yeah, you're just like, nope, I'm coming through. Excuse me.
I guess so. I was determined.
That's amazing. So, and I just wanted to kind of go over like our meeting. I think we were in eighth grade
I
at,
think so. I was trying to think about that this morning. Was it eighth grade or earlier?
I mean, we might have met in seventh, but
Yeah.
um, started hanging out with similar people in eighth, but then really connected, I think, over that summer going into high school and like
Yeah.
through hanging out in Nevada City, being hooligans.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eternity
Um,
ago.
I remember the drinking under the bridge was like a thing.
Was a that was a big thing.
Yeah, had to get your crazy out somehow. And then I mean, I think there's just we have a lot, or like we're on the same wavelength in a lot of ways, so I think that just like helped us connect. I mean, we dealt with a lot of different dramas at that time too, in our home lives and stuff like that. I remember trying to knock on your window at like 11 at night. Can I sleep here?
Oh yeah. Did that work?
Nope, your mom wouldn't let me in.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I was like, okay, sorry. I think I could have used a talking to by someone at that time on conduct or something.
I mean, we were like 15, so everybody needs talking to on
Right,
conduct at that point.
right. I think some of my favorite times though was with you and Cassie and Sarah, our little friend group of girls, when we would like take psychedelics and write in our journals and make up songs and prance around the forests and fields like that, I still is just like, I think just a very formative, but also just a beautiful time, I think, in my life. And we've
It was,
morphed through different times, like we all, do, which I think is healthy and good. But I don't know, when we were little hippies, it was so sweet.
I know, we really were. It didn't, yeah, it was a really awesome time. We just had such a great friend group and
I mean, it was like definitely family, and
sure.
got me through hard times and just gave us like this little world of like happiness and love and imagination. Like, definitely what kind of started me painting, using
Mhm.
color and going into that side of my brain. Because I was just telling a friend, like I started with just like black and white drawing, and then I think Sarah was like, "Hey, let's paint with color," and we started painting her dresser, and then from there it was like surrealistic colors everywhere. So I want to talk about also how so you moved to, I mean, you moved here for a while.
Mhm.
Good old Minneapolis times.
That was your
You
fault.
I'm sorry. Then you left me. I stayed. Um Went back to California, lived in Santa Cruz. Um you were a makeup artist for Nordstrom for a while, or for Mac at Nordstrom for a while. What was that time like, and especially like in contrast to where you're at now?
My God, everything was different. I mean, I was a makeup artist for I think 15 years for mostly Mac. Um, and yeah, I started in San Francisco with them, and then I moved down to Santa Cruz, and then took over the Mac store down there. And I mean, it was really toxic. I didn't realize that it was toxic, um, but it was just, I was like, it was just constant going all the time. I worked on a concrete floor in heels and didn't feed myself properly and drank, I lived off caffeine and wine at night, caffeine in the morning, wine at night. And it was just, it was fun. I mean, I was in my 20s and like, it was just, it was fun. It was artistic. I liked, I got to learn a lot of cool stuff. The company was kind of cool back then. It was all about artistry, so I really enjoyed that part of it. I met a lot of cool people, but at the same time, I was really destroying my body. Um, I wasn't paying attention to how I was really feeling in my body and myself at all whatsoever. So yeah, I was just focused 100% on work, and I worked, I think, probably, I don't know, over definitely over 40 hours a week, and it was just a constant grind. So I didn't take care of myself at all. I just, was all about working and doing what I needed to do, and thought I was living this great life and having so much fun. And I had, I was married and I had two little tiny babies, and I just thought everything was going really, really great. And I was doing life how it was supposed to be done, but I really wasn't paying attention to
So
any.
what made you kind of hit a wall and realize things weren't as great as you were kind of making them out to be?
Yeah. Well, I knew deep down that my marriage was terrible, and I didn't pay attention to it. Um, I just kind of convinced myself that everything was fine. This is how it needed to be. He was a good person. It was great. Um, but after a while, it got harder and harder to continue that like dialogue in my head, and then just having my kids. They were still tiny, both in diapers, but I knew, I think, at some point, I just didn't want them to grow up watching me in that environment and being treated the way that I was and talked to the way that I was. Um, so I think I just, even though I was completely ignoring it, I think I knew deep down that I didn't want to stay there anymore in that space. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that kind of shifted that for me, but literally one day it was like waking up out of a dream almost. There was this big incident that happened between him and and I sort of looked at him for the first time with like real eyes, I guess, and I had, I was holding one of my babies, holding on to my other one's hand and standing there looking at this person in front of me, and I just like literally was like a veil was lifted up, and I was like, holy shit, wait, where am I? What am I doing? What's happening here? I can't be here anymore. Um, and that night just was like, I can't do this anymore, and called it quits then. And yeah, it was literally like just I woke up and like a fog was lifted off of off of me, and it took going through some trauma for sure.
Yeah. I mean, having that moment of clarity is like obviously really hard, but maybe a gift in it, like because it made up your mind where you're not
100%.
still just, oh, it'll get better. It's okay. Yeah. Just like still fighting back
Yeah.
and forth. It was like having clarity is huge.
Yeah.
And and so how do you think, those tough times like led into like some of your health stuff?
Well, it was just like it's such a long drawn out thing, but I was a single mom then for a while, and he left and just never showed his face again. He just completely, which I wasn't expecting, but left my kids and my bonus kid, which his child. So I had essentially three, um, my two, and then I had my bonus kid half the week, and I still shared with his mom. So it was rough, working, well over 40 hours a week. I had to get a nanny. It was just, again, I was in this crazy grind. And I thought during that time, I was like, all right, my babies are in diapers. And I was so manipulated in that relationship. And so I just really, really messed with my mind. And I was like, I'm not going to get another relationship for a long time. I'm not going to introduce anybody to my babies for, ever. I was like, I'm just going to be single forever, basically, because I'm not going through anything like that again. And they're in
It's easier.
diapers. So, but then, an old pal of both of ours came back into my life, and it was just kind of like instant connection. And I tried to shut it down and was like, nope, not gonna happen. I can't do this right now. But it did. It continued. He was, just persistent, and fell in love with kids, and they fell in love with him. And so anyway, I knew that I didn't want to have any more kids though, and that I wasn't going to do that. So I went to go get on birth control, and I called my doctor and made an appointment to have an IUD. I'd never had one before, but just decided to go that way. So I went into the office, and she was going to apply. It was the copper IUD. I
Hmm.
don't know why I chose that one, but
It's like
literally in
supposed to be
stirrup.
no hormones or whatever.
Yeah, something. Yeah. So I was like in the stirrups, and it was like just a flash of intuition, and was like, I have a sensitivity to metals, certain metals on my skin. I
Mhm.
can't wear them. Like I guess it's like the nickel that's in them that I have allergy to. Just flashed in my head like, well, it's a copper IUD. Will that be okay to be inside my body, or could I have an allergy to that? So I asked her literally right as she was about to insert it, and she stopped and was like, no one's ever asked me that question before. I actually have no idea. And she was like, maybe we'll just wait and I'll find out. But in the meantime, it's been a while since you had your last PAP. So let's go ahead and do like a quick PAP, and then I'll get you back in to do your ID. So I said, fine, do PAP. So she did that. I left. She was supposed to call and reschedule for the IUD. That call never came, but she did call and leave me a message saying, "I got your results for your PAP. You're totally fine, totally normal, whatever." So I waited for her to call to reschedule for the IUD. It never happened. And so then, just another kind of intuitive flash, I was like, I'm not going to go back to her. I'm going to go to my OB that, helps with my kid, deliver my kids. I liked her. So I made an appointment with her to have the same copper IUD. And again, like, I'm in the stirrups again. And she had
That's
clarified,
where
like,
you do your best thinking, I guess.
I guess that's where my intuition just comes in and hits.
Perfect.
But she had told me, like, no, you're fine, like the copper would be fine. And then, again, as she's gonna put it in, I was like, oh, just, and I'll never know why I thought about this because I already got the call saying it was totally fine. But I was like, could you just check my results on my last PAP? And she just did it. She said they were fine, but I don't know, maybe just check. So she put down the IUD, turned to her computer, looked up my results from my PAP from my doctor, and she turned around and looked at me and she was like, she told you this was okay? And I was like, yeah, she said everything was great. And she was like, this is not okay. We can't do this IUD right now. I need
What?
to do, yeah. And she looked at me in a way that I'll like never forget. It was like, just, you could tell that look on somebody's face was like, oh, you're kind of, you might be screwed. Like, I could just see it in her face. And she was like, we need to do something called a cone biopsy, like right now.
Oh my God.
And so instead of getting the IUD, I got that. And yeah, she told me to go home, and then I had abnormal cells, and that's not a good thing. So I got a call from her office a few days later, and they were like, you have cervical cancer, and we don't know how bad it is or anything. But yeah, it was terrible. And I remember getting the call and like sitting outside and thinking like, wait, I can't die. I have two babies in diapers. Like, it can't
Yeah.
happen. There's no other person. Um, and yeah, it was just absolutely terrifying. So I called the doctor who had told me like that I was fine, of course. And I was like, what's up? You told me I was fine and it's not fine. And she was like, honestly, I didn't even read your results. I
Oh my God. Were
She
you
was like,
recording this? You could have totally sued her.
I know, I know. Because she was like, honestly, you're young, you're healthy. I thought it was fine. Um, so I was like, and I thought that I was like, I could sue you, or you can help save my life. Like, how about we do that? Please
Yeah.
help save my life. So she did. She and my OB worked together, and yeah, it was just, I had to go back in for another biopsy procedure. It was actually on Kurt, my partner's birthday. I went and did that, and it was, not a long procedure. It was pretty easy. They had to put me under, and I did that. But then I had to wait. I think it was over 2 weeks because they called me, and they were, at one point they were like, it looks like it has broken through the cell wall, which means it would be systemic, which means there's nothing we can do. And that call was just like, oh my God, okay. I had
And
to
then
wait
you had to
another
wait
week.
2 weeks.
Yeah, they had to send it to another lab, like a more, thorough look into it. And so, but then I got the call that, it was actually okay, and they had gotten it all. It was in situ, which means it was contained within itself. So
Yay.
it was awesome. But I did have a hysterectomy after that, though. I had a part. They call it a full, but I did get to hold on to my ovaries. I just made the decision. They told me that if I didn't do that, I'd have to go in every like 4 months to get tested, and that stress just sounded
No.
horrible. So
Yeah. You told me all of this, like, not all of it, but what even that you had even gone through any of this, like, much later, like a year later, because we were kind of just out of touch at that time and just being like,
Mhm.
what? Oh my God.
Well, I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell
You
anybody
were
about it.
going
I mean,
through a lot. I mean, I'm so glad you had Kurt. Like, that's probably, I mean, maybe that helped you, I mean, obviously he helped you through it, but maybe you didn't feel like you had to talk to anyone else. If you had somebody there, like, to speak to and support you, that's amazing. Oh, I hear your dogs.
yeah, my dog is currently losing its mind, so sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, it's a weird thing when you're faced with like possibly dying from something and having, especially, two small kids on without another. I had no idea what was going to happen to them if I was to leave, like
Right.
at all. So it was just this level of like fear and stress and worry that I can't even fathom. And like my reaction to it was to turn off emotion. So I lost the ability to cry for years. Um, I just became like I held it all inside and I didn't want to talk about it and I didn't want to freak them out. So I pretended like everything was fine. But then like at night it would just be, you know, like it was just this horrendous fear. So Kurt would like read me stories every night to go to sleep and he definitely navigated me through it. I don't know what I would have done. But it was so hard to reach out to people and say like I'm going through this thing because I just didn't want to talk about it. I just became like, nope, I'm holding it all in and I'm not gonna talk about it until
You were
after I know what's
being a
happening.
warrior when you needed to be, and
Yeah.
you were coping how you needed to cope. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. It's probably exactly what you needed to do at that time. Because really, what good is, like, you know, I could imagine us talking and like just like losing my mind, and that's not helpful. you know?
It's not helpful to keep it all inside because it took me then years after to like get past the stress that was stored in my body.
That's true. But you got through it. Is there still any like are there things you have to like check on or like tests you have to do or anything like that or like worry of it coming
No,
back again?
because I mean, no, I had the hysterectomy, so they removed like my uterus and cervix, and come to find out now, that's probably not even something that they would have done. Like now, even things have advanced in just the past few years, and I don't think that's even something that they really do anymore for what I had, which is kind of a bummer. I sort of wish I wouldn't maybe have done it, but also just relieving the stress was great. So, but no, I don't have to do hormones or anything, luckily, because I still have ovaries and yeah.
Oh wow. So you go to Ayurveda school for a little
Mhm.
bit? Is that what kind of spurred that?
Yeah, so we were in Santa Cruz, then we moved up to Carson City for a little bit, which was terrible. I don't know, it was terrible. I think we were only there for like 8 months, and then we moved to Nevada City to be closer to family and everything. I just knew that I wanted family close by now after that whole experience. But um, I left Mac because I had been with Mac for like 11 years, like I said, and so dedicated to them, gave them so much of my life, and then I remember calling and being like, "Hey, I have cancer. I'm gonna need to not come in for a while. Like I don't." And they literally were like, "Well, who's gonna take over your shifts? Like, what are you gonna do?" And that was like the only thing, the only question. And so I realized, like, wow, okay, I'm just a warm body to be in here. It's like, um, so as much as I loved my job and what I did, I was like, okay, I'm not leaving that world. I don't want to be part of that anymore. I had been, from testing their lipsticks on the back of my hand every day just to show people. I had developed some skin stuff that still has to be burned off to this day. It comes back every once in a while.
Hmm.
So I knew, like, all right, I've been putting just toxic shit on my body over and over again for so long, and I never paid attention to what I was putting on my body or using as cosmetics or anything like that. And I just wanted to learn how to take care of myself. So in Nevada City, there's the California College of Ayurveda, which is super renowned. It's a beautiful, beautiful campus, and I just really was interested in learning about herbs and herbalism mostly, and then just medicine. Like, I wanted to know how to help myself because the Western medicine that I had gone through was just such a shit show. It just continues to become more of a shit show. So I just wanted to, just for my own knowledge, learn about how to just properly care for myself and my kids. And so that I went through that course, and that was really cool, and that just really kind of awakened this like desire to learn more and to be a part of that world. But I didn't really know how to make it a career. Like, how do I make money from this? So I was doing like odd jobs, and I actually got into real estate for a little bit with my mom, which was weird and like a whole nother, like, gross on its other spectrum.
Okay, I know a lot of realtors and I love them and they're doing fine, but they make fun of it. It's a crazy world. It's like,
It so is. It's like,
yeah.
I know that we have just a lot of old friends that are realtors here too, and yeah, it's like it's fun, but I'm just not
Well,
competitive.
you're
I just don't do it.
dependent so much on the fluctuations of society and like, I don't know what's going on in the federal government, just like all these things and trends and it's a hard time of people's lives is moving. It can be kind of fun when they're shopping for the house and stuff, but yes,
Yeah.
so much that goes along with it. That's the cute part.
And I was just not cutthroat enough. Like, it really is like so competitive, and you have to convince people to buy things that you're like, no, are not worth that. And I just,
Oh, that's not a yeah, that's I could see that not feeling good.
I
Yeah, and
couldn't.
yeah, probably yeah, you've got to be real with people. Like this is, or people want to buy something is not good for them. Like, how do you talk them out of that, or do you talk them out of
Exactly.
that? Like,
Yeah, I just didn't love it. So I and I was slowly like declining into this crazy cloud of depression
mm,
for a little bit too after my surgery. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna feel completely normal. Like, nothing's any different. It'll, you still have your ovaries, so you're not gonna go into menopause. You'll be fine. You won't notice it's gone." That's a total crock of shit, because everything changed. Like, my face changed, my hair started falling out, and that was also probably a lot due just from stress. And
mm.
but and then I finally felt all of that, like, that stored just fear and sadness and everything just sort of came out. And I just like got into this crazy state of depression. So I was trying to navigate through that. I felt like, after losing, having a hysterectomy is a huge deal for a woman, and I really didn't think about it too much before I had it done. I was just like, all right, they told me I should do this. I'll do it, sure. Um, but then it was kind of like, I don't have my cycle anymore. I mean, I do because I have my ovaries, but nothing happens. I'm not bleeding. It was just really strange transition. I was like, am I even still like a woman? And my skin became completely super dry. It was always like really oily and kind of like supple and nice before, but now it was like just dry and everything felt different. So I was just in this, crazy funk and depression. And I was in Nevada City in a store, Kit Kadizzy, which is our old pals store. This is a rad store in town. And there was this whole wall of skincare, and it was called Fat in the Moon. Was the company, and I'd never heard of it before, but they told me it was a local company, and made by a woman locally, herbalist. And there was an oil on the shelf called moon fat bod oil. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I don't know. I read the back, and just reading the inscription on the back just, you know, spoke to something in me so much that I was like, I want to feel like this. I want to feel this way again in my skin. So I'll try it. I was like trying everything to make my skin feel better, and nothing worked. So I tried that, and it instantly just made my skin feel soft and like supple again. And I just felt like myself again for a minute in my body, and it just made me cry. I was so happy. I was like so thankful for this product and this company. So I started following them and just wanting to learn more about them, and time went on and whatever. I just kept trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. But then after a bit, I found out that the owner's home burned down. She lived in this rad little cabin here locally, and it burned down while she was on vacation, and she lost her kitty and all of her possessions. And the way that
Was it
she,
like wildfires or?
no, I think it was electrical or something. It was an old cabin and just a fluke. But um, just the way she talked about it online, and just reading her words just made me just respect her even more. And I just really wanted to be a part of. I just wanted to help her, I guess, mostly because it made me feel so good in my body again. What she put in the world, out in the world, and I still didn't think much of it beyond that. But then we had mutual friends, I guess I didn't even know. But I got a text from somebody, they knew I was looking for different work. And they were like, hey, this company, Fat in the Moon, is hiring. And I was like, what? Okay. So I applied and I got it, and started out just working part-time, doing random stuff. And then I became a maker, which was great because I was getting to work with herbs that I had learned about in Ayurveda school. And Rachel is an incredible herbalist. She's been taught in so many different modalities, and she's so knowledgeable. So I was learning from her, and so it was like all of a sudden this beautiful opportunity presented itself for me to learn about what I wanted to learn, but also make a living too. So it just came together in such a cool way, just really meant to be. And now, yeah, I've been there for 7 years, and
So now you do like trainings for new, or you find new locations to distribute
mm-hmm.
all around the country. Are you guys outside of the country?
We are
Also?
in certain parts outside the country. Yeah. Just yeah, we're sold over the all over the US now, and parts of the globe. And I handle all of our wholesale. So yeah, I'm the wholesale lead, and I also do product education. So I train all the shops and travel to different places to train our shops and the people who represent us.
I mean, that alone just sounds cool, but I actually like carry this in my purse at all
Oh,
times.
good.
This saw us through the summer, last summer, and almost out. And then, whoops, I just dropped it. Um, it's just like so cooling for like sunburns. The girls like love it
Is
when
that
they
aloe?
forget to put on their sunscreen. This is the all cream.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the all salve is I just keep in my purse because it won't spill, and I have dry hands like nonstop. But I really like have fallen in love with like those two things. And then what was the hair powder, or like the dry shampoo.
Oh
When I
yeah.
ran out of that, I was so bummed. And then I went to go buy some somewhere, and like they were out.
You got to
I
go to the
just
wedge. It's at the wedge.
I know I never make it to the wedge. It's like so far away on the other side of, yeah, very close. And they have it at the other Seward, I believe. And honestly, I just want to carry some of these things. I wish my studio was more like well traveled. Excuse me. It kind of makes me want to open up a store in a busy place just so I can carry Fat in the Moon.
Oh
And even
yes.
just like, like I love oracle cards, and just have a little shop where people come in and have access to amazing things. But yeah, I need to reconnect with you on like some of that. So just like have a few little things on the shelf. Are you guys, did you say you were reformulating the eye coal or anything?
Yeah, we're reformulating the adornments across the board, but starting with eye coals.
Mhm. Because I really want a brow powder or pomade or something. That would be perfect for my little, since I do that work. So
I know. I know.
yes.
Yeah, there's so many products that we're trying
If
to
you
come
want
out
a
with.
permanent makeup artist perspective, let me know. I know
Yeah.
you don't need you're from the makeup world, so and you guys are all amazing women who are familiar with those things. But you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we get
Um
people asking for brow stuff all the time.
yeah, I think that I mean I would definitely and the main thing is finding a company you trust with good ingredients. Yeah, that I feel really good recommending to people.
Yeah.
Um cuz like I put my little emblem name on aftercare like lip mask I found. It's all just very
Uh-huh.
natural. It's this brand called Crushed, but they do, you can put your own brand on it. But they don't have any brow products.
Mhm.
And I did find this other company and my logo looked so cute on it, but I think I researched some of their ingredients and two of their products look pretty clean, but the powder has talc.
Oh yeah.
And even though they like get the certification papers that it's clean and everything, it just has such a bad name that I'm like,
Mhm.
that might turn people off. And, I don't know enough about this stuff too. I just want to trust the company, trust what's in the product. Cause I do, I get people who've gone through chemo and, or are about to and things like that. And I want something with my name on it or something I'm recommending to be, very safe for them. So
Yeah, it's so important
yeah,
because
and it's only going to be keep being more and more important. I think
yeah.
it's not going away. People are educated and they want clean products. It's like organic
Yeah,
food or yeah, you want to know what's in your stuff. Um
totally. That's yeah, why I love working for Fat in the Moon because I I feel like I'm at least offering something positive out into the world and that's not harmful and it's not like we're curing diseases or anything, but at least we're offering truly clean products to people that are healthy and positive impact on the planet and their bodies and positive messaging too because it's just all so toxic anymore with especially for women and in the cosmetics world it's pretty gross.
yeah, it's super important and yeah, my girls are, more and more interested in makeup every day. And so I want to start educating them more on that stuff because, and myself, like I know a few herbs, I know a little bit like what Ashley's taught me and what we've talked about and things I've just, grown up with. But um,
Yeah,
there's so much to learn. And I've made a few tinctures and done some stuff here out of my garden, but it's definitely a big I mean, there's so much to learn. So,
totally.
and I think everyone should have a little herb garden and be making little things for themselves and
Yeah.
I don't know, at least have access to it and the knowledge. So, maybe that's once I'm done with my astrology courses, I'll get into the herb stuff. I've
It's
been
so
learning from
fascinating.
Adam from the astrology, and then his wife Ashley is the herbalist here, and probably take her classes next.
Totally. It's so fun and they're just herbs are powerful.
Mhm.
And there's, I mean that's Rachel started Fat in the Moon just because she's a fine arts major in New York and she was starting to get just walking around the streets in Brooklyn and New York, she was seeing the weeds growing out of the sidewalks and the cracks and just the concrete jungle that it is out there and was just kind of fascinated by their resiliency and like willingness to live in those environments. And so she started to research the weeds actually and realized that those plants that were growing in those urban environments were super medicinal. And not only are they medicinal, but their medicinal properties really were, supportive of what most people in urban areas are really needing in their lives. Um, so it's just that, it's just there, it's magic, really, how plants show up and what they can offer and what we think are, just weeds and pests are actually
It's
can
one of those
really.
things, like, the more you start opening up to it, the more magical it becomes and the more interesting it becomes. And I
Mhm.
love that point. Like, if you're sick and like you're having lung issues, usually you can step outside and the plant that would help that is growing in your garden.
Yep.
Even like people drink a lot, step outside, there's dandelion
Yep.
everywhere. Like, it
Mhm.
is. It's like we are connected, and
Yeah.
we just have to have the knowledge and be open to it, it seems like.
Yeah.
And during COVID, we got this huge mullein plant that popped up in our yard, and
Mm.
like, oh yeah, the respiratory supply part, there it is.
Totally.
Yeah, and like once you see it, kind of like when you get a red car, you start seeing red cars. Like once you see
Mhm.
that plant, you'll start seeing it everywhere.
It's so true.
Um, Speaking of, do you are you open? Like I have this the Herbcrafters tarot. Have you seen
Oh,
this deck?
cool. Uh-uh.
You would love it. It's beautiful. Should we pull a card
Yeah.
for this
Good.
moment? All right. I gotta make room on my messy desk. Hold on. Speaking of pushing some rosemary that's from our garden out of the way,
Oh, sweet.
I put some in vinegar and use that a little bit, but I'm like, what do I do with the rest of this? I should probably make like a oil for my hair or
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason's hair.
I love seeing the painting. I haven't seen it in so long.
um, so this is a funny story. Mink. There's the rest of it. I
I
have
know
to
it's
keep
tattooed on
keep
my
my
back.
camera down a little bit, otherwise there's just a penis hanging over my head.
Well, yeah, right.
And it was hanging in the hallway down to the lower level where the girls' rooms are. And when they'd have friends over, they'd like it was starting to embarrass them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Mom, why do you only paint naked people? It's art. So I put it in my office so they weren't quite as embarrassed.
Yeah, and that painting is kind of what's tattooed on my back, which is your drawing also.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd ever want to sit through another big tattoo like that, but you could get it reworked and
Definitely needs to be reworked.
yeah. I know you're thinking of getting it removed because of it just
I
never
was
got like fully done or
Oh, it was done
oh.
according to that artist, but I was 17 and he was terrible. Andy was gonna, yeah, redo it, but or like fix it.
Oh, the woman dancing in fire painting I did when God,
Yeah.
I was 17. Um Christina got it, or like the daughter of the guy that bought it. He passed away and she found her and Christina sent it back to me. So now
Oh,
I have it
wow.
again. Um
Cool.
yeah, she's right over there.
Cool.
I remember my creative writing teacher thought I was like a Satan worshiper because I painted a woman dancing in fire, but it's
Right.
just.
Obviously that means Satan.
I was just getting in touch with my inner feminine fire.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was not in touch with hers. So,
No.
all right. So, should we just have a card show up that maybe with a message for you for today?
Sure.
Unless you have a specific question. What does the universe want Megan to hear today or think about? I'm like sitting really awkwardly, so I'm shuffling. All right. And usually I just kind of spread them out and pick one. So I'll pick one for you. Ooh,
That's my favorite flower.
the magician, the sunflower.
Mm.
And of course, when I think of you, I always think of the sun. So one, the magician. It's appropriate. I love it. Let me find it here. Okay. I'm just going to read it to you, okay?
Okay.
Unleash your magic. Radiate power and potency. From one seed, 1,000. A vibrant sunflower lies on a weathered table. One of the leaves gestures towards the sky, the other toward the ground. Black seeds form a Okay, I don't know what this word is. Never mind. Lemniscate above the flower. Casting charms are tossed onto the table, revealing the tools of the Herbcrafter: bowline, mortar, and pestle, kettle, and basket. The power of manifestation lives within. All the information necessary to create life is contained in the seed, yet it is the elements that make the sunflower grow. Wind strengthens the stalk, water feeds the plant, fire is converted to energy by the leaves, earth anchors the root. Nourish your ideas with the elements and watch them bloom into being. Receive divine light from the unseen realms. Shape it into form, then give it all away. Sunflower roots travel for miles underground, bringing nutrients to the flower. Miles?
I know, I had no idea. Wow.
It's been far. When it matures, the flower head bends to the earth and unleashes thousands of seeds. Be a conduit of transformation for others. Oh, I love that.
Wow.
And then there's like little options for crafting with the different plants. So this one says boost magical potency by eating sunflower sprouts for energy. Learn to read casting charms for others. Multiply creativity with guerrilla gardening. Plant sunflowers everywhere and share your seeds. Just go throw them around
I
town.
do.
I love
I
that.
I mean, sunflowers are my absolute favorite flower. I have one right here that is
Aw,
sitting with
I
me.
love that.
Um, but wow, that's beautiful.
I love them too.
That's awesome.
With that in mind, do you want to bring up your chart?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let me share my screen. Where did it go?
Lighting is so bad. You told me to have good lighting, and I didn't do that at all.
It's hard. I was going to be at my studio today, but just kidding. This is not your chart.
I was gonna say, wait, I thought all
This
my stuff
is
was like below.
current transits. Let me find. I'm going to have to. There we go. Okay. Sorry, just kidding. All right. Now, can you see your chart?
Yeah.
This looks right. Taurus ascendant at 20.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, that's not your chart. You do have a Cancer moon at 16 degrees, Venus and Mercury. We have your sun in Leo down here in the fourth house. So, as we approach your chart today, is there anything currently you would like to know about or explore?
I mean, I guess just like if you see any like bumps in the road that I should be aware of. I mean, it's like one giant bump in the road right now for I feel like every human on the planet. But yeah, maybe I'm
What's
just
going on
curious.
for
I'm just
you
curious what's
that,
going on. Yeah.
like, personally, what's going on for you right now that makes you say there's like bumps in the road?
Oh, well, I'm just meaning, like
Oh,
the
in general, the
shitstorm
world.
that is everywhere that we're living in.
Well, yes.
I think personally, I'm just, yeah, I feel it more in my body. I'm feeling more like there's definitely more anxiety and yeah, I think just anxiety is a big subject right now, but not necessarily for any specific thing in like my world,
Mm-hmm.
besides my neck giving me issues, but
Mm-hmm.
I can feel it from the outside pretty strongly.
Well, we are experiencing Mars going through Cancer where your moon is. Moon can represent the body. It's stationed on your moon, basically. It was stationed at Mars here, was stationed at 17 degrees. So it went through Cancer, hit your moon, went into Leo here, stopped, retrograded, stopped at 17 degrees. Your moon's at 16 degrees, so conjunct your moon. And it was there for a long time, and it's still very close. So it's basically still conjunct your moon, and it's very slowly starting to pick up speed and gonna finally move out of Cancer in April. I think I could advance this and see when exactly we get rid of
Yeah, and
Mars.
what does that mean exactly?
Well, so Mars is the planet of inflammation, action. There's obviously pros and cons to each, the symbology of all the planets, all the placements, but Mars is inflammation. And when it's conjunct symbols of the body, that can reflect things that go on with our body. And Cancer specifically is the sign that has to do with women's bodies, women's, like the uterus, the breasts, child rearing, mothers, ancestors. So Mars in Cancer oftentimes, um, like subjects of like abortion comes up and women's choice and protecting the home and homeland security, even things like that.
Hmm.
Mama bear type tendencies and things like that. So when and the moon can be the mother, your the native's body as well. So when Mars is hanging out, it just it's showing me like definitely reflecting that. I do feel like I would hope you would get some relief as Mars moves away from your moon. It's still going towards your Mercury, which rules your second house. And so, yeah, I would say right around, let's see, this will be April, mid April, it'll get out of Cancer, which is, I
Okay,
think, a
good.
good thing. It will be moving into your fourth house. So I don't know, have you already done, you were talking about doing some renovations or something, or some.
We're kind of like in the middle of it, yeah. But
Mhm.
we're gonna do most of that in the summer.
Okay, so it looks like that might, pick up maybe going into April, because fourth house is the home. So maybe you'll just see more like movement and action and changes around your home
Okay.
around that time. So what I see also going on for you, I mean, there's a lot in the 11th and 12th houses, and that's Pisces is where your 11th house is. So that's like hopes, dreams, aspirations, helpers, and then groups of friends, things like that. It seems like it is connected to social media for people as well. And then we have the 12th house, which is behind the scenes, our subconscious, things that we don't see, things that could be, maybe we can confront in isolation. It can be isolation itself, just those topics. So that's where the sun is right now. It's also conjunct the north node. The sun just conjuncted the north node. So there's a lot going on. Mercury, wait, this is in April. Let me go back to now. I was just moving that ahead. So now we have Mercury and Venus retrograding in your 12th house. So there's a lot of action there. You don't have any placements here, but it is ruled by Mars. So some of those internal dialogue things, that anxiety, um, could be kind of related here with this Mars in Cancer on your moon. Um, that will like start to alleviate in the next few months. It's just like the beginning of this year. There's a lot going on. There's eclipses here in your 12th and 6th house axis. Actually, they're oh no, yeah, the nodes are in the 11th and 5th. So that's more where they were last year and the year before, and now they've moved into this axis. So that might actually be a little, you'll see more change in the house of children and even your creativity, things like that. I know that you're incredibly connected to your children. And I mean, when you were talking about them earlier and like when you had them when they're young, I know how it's like they teach you like what real love is. And it just blows your mind. And it's kind of like,
Mhm.
it does make you question other relationships. It's like, is this bullshit over here? Because
Mhm.
this is what life is about.
Yeah.
So it can wake you up for sure. Um, so there's just a lot of movement back and forth of Mercury and Venus. Venus is your ruling planet. She is retrograde right now. She's going to go into Pisces, where she's exalted, meaning she does really well. Like she's empowered there. And then she's going to stop and go direct and back into Aries, where she's a little bit more, she has to fight for what she wants. But ruled by Mars, she's a fighter. Like she's I guess she's a warrior there. But being in your 12th house, it might be a little bit more connected to your dreams or spirituality or things going on behind the scenes.
That's
Um
interesting. That's kind of like the card you pulled. Or could be related to that.
yeah, and we're re-examining. I mean, Venus has to do with relationships, pleasure, things like that, the good things in life. But um, since she does rule your ascendant, it's also your body and you as a person. So reworking your health, re-examining, focusing on that type of stuff. I can see
Mhm.
that definitely coming up. Once she gets to Taurus, once she's done with her retrograde and gets through Aries and into your ascendant area, that should feel great.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Ready for that.
do you want me to look ahead to when that will be?
Sure.
Okay. Unfortunately, it'll be months,
Mm.
but oh, there she is. Okay, here we go. Okay, so June, not too far, late spring,
Okay.
early summer. And once Neptune moves into Aries, it's going to be there for 14 years. So you might embark upon some new spiritual journey, maybe work with your dreams or something of that nature in the next decade. But who knows? It is going to eventually oppose your Mars and Pluto once it's a little more, down the line. But that'll be a new adventure. Having Venus in your ascendant will be great. Just kind of live it up in June.
Okay, good.
Yes. Um, I'm going to bring in the asteroids real quick. So, are you familiar with the asteroids at all, or like what they are?
No.
So, they are believed to be possibly have been another planet that was between Mars and Jupiter. So, there's like a big space between Mars and Jupiter that maybe exploded at some time. So, there's just thousands of asteroids, and they're kind of in this one area between Mars and Jupiter. They take around, I think it's like 4.5 years to go through, but they named the biggest ones after the goddesses. So we have Ceres. Let me come back to your chart. So this adds to your stellium here in the third house. Um, she is Ceres is the kind of the goddess of the harvest. She's been known by different names throughout time. She is related to um, mothering, nurturing, womanhood, but her like story has to do with losing her daughter, like being super just her daughter was like her light of her life, and Pluto came and stole her daughter and took her to the underworld, and she had to journey down and make a deal and get her back. So she got to get her back half of the year. So when Persephone, her daughter, is back,
Persephone. Mm-hmm.
Ceres gives to the earth. So we have spring and summer. And then when she has to leave and go back to the underworld, we go back into fall and winter.
Mm-hmm.
So just symbolically, really beautiful. She's conjunct your Venus here in the third house. Um, when I did your chart a while ago, we talked about how your Venus lives in your third house, has to do with your neighborhood, women in your life. And I did feel like it kind of reminds me of your job, like you're working with women, and you have Hygeia here, which is the goddess of, I
Home
mean,
and art,
of
right?
health. Of
Mm, yeah.
Hygeia means the art of health. So that being there is also very representative of what you do for work and with, in your you work for a local company with herbs, and it's just kind of cool how it all
Yeah.
is represented here in more layers. Um, and then Juno is the goddess of commitment, long-term commitment. So marriage can be contracts too. I believe some people use that as, but I don't know as much about her. Um, oh, I'm sorry. This is Vesta. Hygeia is in your second house, which, um, I'm sorry. I love Vesta. I don't know how I messed up. Vesta is the goddess of, she's like, so Athens and Greece, they had, they worshipped the goddess Vesta. She was like the goddess of hearth and home.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep the home fires burning, like you um sometimes like mothers would, when their daughters would get married, they would give them a flame to bring from their hearth to their new hearth. And there was the Vestal virgins who had a very difficult job of keeping the fire burning for the city, and that was like the protection for the city. And um they they were virgins, so they went from like the age of 6 to, gosh, I think later in life, like 30 and something. Um, so they weren't, they would never marry, but they were allowed to, women weren't allowed certain things, but they could have like their own homes, and they could go certain places and had like special seats at the theater and things like that. They were revered, but if they messed up, they were like put in a cave and blocked in there, and they had to die like and like starve to death. So it was really messed up.
Oh.
So the pros and cons of all of these amazing stories and the way that people used to worship. But um, so Hygeia being in your second house, that really still shows the symbology of your work because the second house is how you make money, what sustains you. Um, and it's also in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, who is the planet of like exchange, money, the market, things like that. So yeah, I like to bring these in. You do have this is Pallas Athena. She is the goddess of she's like a warrior goddess and um, very intelligent, intellectual. She was born out of Zeus's head. So she was kind of just different from the other goddesses. Right now, you have Pluto squaring Pallas Athena. Yes, because Pluto doesn't move fast at all. Pluto's very slow. So, um, Pluto is squaring Pallas Athena. So, um, yeah, as I deepen my knowledge with, and just I think learning through reading, but also experience with people's charts, I'm slowly gathering more symbology on these. But I mean, what that says to me is maybe you are like intellectually growing or changing or rethinking, reformulating like mentality or how you think about things. So, I don't know. That's just kind of what that says to me. So that might be coming up for you.
That's interesting. I feel like that is coming up. I can resonate with that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah, Pluto is the planet of it'll burn you down to build you back up. So it's kind of like growth through challenge.
Real
Um,
familiar with that process.
yeah, it's never easy, is it?
No, it's usually for
Those
the
little
best.
dandelions have to fight their way through the cement,
Hmm.
but they do
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Makes you
Herbcrafter.
stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, do you have any more like are you seeing any symbology or questions or anything else you want to explore in your chart?
I mean, it's all like fascinating. I don't know, looking at it, like I don't know what any of it means. It's funny
It
because
is it's a
like
language for sure.
it so is, but it's so neat. I mean, I've been immersed in it like my whole life without really understanding it fully, So it's awesome that you're learning this so you can.
It like slowly reveals itself layer by layer and I mean you learn I really liked I think it was just Jessica Lanyadoo, is that how you
Yeah.
say her last name?
Uh-huh.
I started listening to her during the pandemic, and she was talking about how it's important to start drawing the symbols of the planets when you're learning.
Hmm.
And so I started doing that and just connecting with it that way and just started listening to tons of different podcasts and that's how I found my teacher. But that kind of if you're interested in doing it, just like drawing them out and then you
Yeah.
get into the archetypes and then I, for some reason, am really drawn to the asteroids, but there's like fixed stars and there's all types of progressions and so many techniques, which we'll see. I might learn horary astrology, which is like you ask kind of a yes or no question and then read the chart at the moment of asking for to look for the answer. And I don't know if I could do it for other people. It seems like such a big responsibility, but maybe for myself and family or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
seems like it
awesome.
would be kind of fun to learn. Um,
Well, I think if your interest is piqued by something, it's important to follow it because it's there for a
for
reason.
sure. Yes, yes. I mean, it does take a lot of time, but it's one of those things I haven't been able to put down. If I sometimes you can get overwhelmed by it and it's good to step away, but I'm always just like, okay, what's going on in the sky? And
Yeah.
it's not even just, it's learning the language, but it really enriches life around you. Like all of a sudden you're seeing things symbolically and
Yeah.
um like everything becomes deeper and more poetic and like I don't know. It adds a richness to life that is really fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. So is it like, I have noticed, especially as I get older, that when it's full moon time, I'm like a disaster. And I can't for but it's most ridiculous like leading up to the full moon, and then on the full moon I'm usually like I can sleep, but usually up days up until then I'm just a disaster. Like Kurt was like, it must almost be a full moon. like but like I'll get in bed to go to sleep, and then I'm just like, so let's talk about like, I mean, I can't shut off, and I can't sleep. Is that,
Mm.
do you think, does that show up in my chart because, does it have anything to do with like my, because I'm a Cancer moon and
I
so
mean, I could see that having, your moon is in Cancer, and so it's ruled by the moon.
right.
Um, that's a really powerful spot for it.
Mhm.
You are, let's see, is it last quarter or no, not last quarter? You're like a just over 30 degrees of the moon phase. So maybe that's where you're more comfortable. Like that's where the moon was when you were born. That's kind of like closing down into the darkness,
Yeah.
the waning gibbous or whatever. So maybe being in the opposite light when it's the brightest is just a lot for you, and
Yeah.
that would be the opposite leading up to the full moon. It could, since you're connected to it, just kind of be a lot to deal with for you.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that like your whole life, or just kind of just started paying attention to it more recently, or?
It's probably been the past like 5 or 6 years that I've been way more like, I acknowledge it more, or I'm just paying
Mm.
attention to, oh yeah, it's almost a full moon. That's why I'm insane right now. Which is I'll
Right.
probably
It could
know
be kind
forever.
of
I just
noticing it on the cycle, but um you are, let me open up this. Let's see, hmm, you're in a gibbous phase, which means growing towards a full moon as far as like the progressed lunar phases. Um, that seems more fitting for how you're a teacher within your company, spreading knowledge, kind of growing towards maybe what you where um just like good work of doing something you really feel good about and love. um it was 40, when you're 47 you'll hit a progressed lunar full moon phase of your life, and that's like where your light shining the brightest might be a notable time. And you're kind of building towards that right now. Other than that, I mean, we're humans. We're connected to the earth. It's true. Everything, I mean, every nurse says, the hospitals get crazy on full moons. Every cop says, okay, it's a full moon. We're going to have more wildness on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are just very much connected to it, and you're aware
Absolutely.
of it,
Mm-hmm.
whereas a lot of people probably aren't. We're also moving towards our maybe perimenopause midlife time as women, and
Yeah.
paying attention to our bodies and things like that. So,
Well, and
um,
our bodies are what, like 90% water, 80% water or something.
some,
So it's like, and the
something.
moon governs all bodies of water on the earth, including that.
Right. So how could we not be connected to it?
Yeah.
I think we're just remembering that, and yeah, getting on, paying attention to our cycles. And I mean, you're surrounded by women, and it's
Mm-hmm.
part of the work, so it's probably on your mind. But also,
Yeah,
we just
true.
had the lunar eclipse. Did you see that? Or
I didn't get to see it because it decided to snow here randomly.
that's right. And yeah, it was in at like 1 in the morning here, so it was probably like 11 there. But so there's a lot, and there's a lot going on in the sky right now,
Yeah.
and in your 12th house, which is subconscious stuff. So your mind is probably reeling. So take time to burn some herbs, I'm not saying smoke weed. That's totally up to you. But I know that's not up your alley anyway. But
That
actually,
sent me
like,
down a whole different path.
right, set some herbs on fire in a controlled environment since you're in California.
Okay.
And yeah, pull some cards, and there's always something, like, to take from that, and take time for yourself. I hope Maddie feels better soon.
Thank you. She will. Yeah. Given her herbs.
Yes. I miss you.
I miss you.
I'm sure there'll be like 16 things I'm like, oh, I should have mentioned that or asked her that, but that's
Yeah.
how it is. All right. Well, I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. Tell everybody I said hi.
I will. Love you. Me too.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
If you are interested in hearing more of these conversations, like and subscribe. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.